It's a beautiful day in Philmont. It's a corvid flying above. One video I can recap on right now is one I put up a few weeks ago that was all about why we should not use the J word when describing people who are opiate users. I got some feedback on that video, mainly through social media. Most of the feedback was very positive. But I did get some people who brought up another issue that I'm going to address in this video. That issue is just that there's I think our society creates more nihilism. There's a greater sense of nihilism. We know our medical system is broken, but it's certainly not the only system in our society that's broken. Kind of our whole society right now is really broken. It's not serving the people, it's oppressive, and it's creating widespread mental illness. And that's really the crux of it, is that we're living in a social situation that creates widespread mental illness. It's just not healthy. So that being said, there's a lot of confusion between cause and effect. We look a lot of times at the effects and mislabel them as the cause. But really, you want to try to look at the whole picture all the time. That's the thing. Always good to see not only what you're trying to look at, but what is the surrounding issues? What are the surrounding concerns? Because people brought up situations or family members in their life, people who would think nothing of stealing, people who think nothing of taking a human life. That doesn't come from drug use. I mean, they can kind of come together. Some people who are really deeply wounded and sociopathic, they may or may not use drugs. And that's the thing, is that it's not a cause-effect relationship. There's more going on than what meets the eye. I recently watched a video with a lady by the name of Hutchinson who's talking about the poverty in her state, West Virginia. And of course, she's talking about West Virginia, and it's really bad there, but these problems are going on nationwide in the United States. Here in New York State, food stamps are only rationalized to give a person $4 a day to live on. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, $4 a day. So really, you've only got maybe $1.30 per meal, $1.33 for your meals, to have to make that stretch and go around and feed you. And that's really starvation. I remember years ago, maybe 10 years ago, it being $15 per person. You had $5 per meal to eat, and just the poverty line keeps dropping, and it doesn't reflect reality. The infrastructure, the safety nets that are there are being ripped out from underneath people. The cost of living is just skyrocketing, and it's not sustainable. People are not sustaining. I'm going to leave a link to Miss Hutchinson's video below this one, so you can go and watch her, because I can't really comment on what she said. She said it so well. She said it so specifically, and I think every state needs someone like that stepping up and saying, hey, look, this is the situation we're living in. Because I know it's going on here in New York. I know there is so much poverty. I'm living in part of it myself, and there are people who are struggling even more so. And what's happening is this struggle is largely going on in families. So you have children who are growing up in the depths of this struggle. Sometimes they have an educated parent, someone with a college degree, maybe two educated parents with college degrees, who are struggling to keep food on the table and provide for them the things that they need. It's not encouraging to the young generation this whole idea of do these steps, go to college, get a job, do X, Y, and Z, and everything will fall into place. And they see that it's a lie. They see that it's not working for their parents, for their older siblings, for the people around them. You've got people with a growing sense of nihilism. Back when I was younger and would sometimes go to the party scene, yeah, you would find people there who were really consuming alcohol or other substances and did not really care if they woke up the next morning. That's the thing, these are people that I've known in my life. And often I've known their stories and how they were beat down to that point. You could see it happen. You could see it happen because there's no real motivation to cultivate a good reputation, to cultivate a sense of honor. When you see people who are good and honorable being persecuted for doing good, honorable things, when you see people going to jail for feeding the homeless, when you see doctors lose their license for treating patients right, when you see children being fined for running a lemonade stand because it's a non-taxed business. I mean, it's all these little things, it's all these little things, your state requirements, your town requirements, your licensing systems. It's the frog in the pot boiling because the heat has been turned up incrementally. So don't confuse the issue, okay? People don't become nihilistic. People who really just don't have any respect for the rules of society because they use drugs. They become this way because of the society, because they've looked at it, because that's what we're teaching. By accepting the way we live, by accepting rules that are unfair or unconstitutional. Someone commented on my video about having a child that just has no respect for any rules or their parents or their family or anything, who's just, by the sounds of it, on a fast track to a prison career. And I look at the society where, what are we showing these children? What are we saying about being honorable and having incentive and pursuing your dreams when you see doors being closed in their faces all the time? One time I was at a library board meeting. I won't say which library. It was a library somewhere, not here. They were talking about a local boy who wanted to mow the lawn of the library for summer pocket money. Here's a kid with some great initiative, wants to do some yard work, wants to do something civically minded and work at the library and cut their grass. But they couldn't allow him to do it because they had to get somebody who was bonded and insured and had all these legal requirements. That's what we're doing to children in our society. They can't go out and be entrepreneurs. They can't have their creative mark in the world because we're constantly saying to them, no, you can't do that. You have to pay these fees. You have to have these licenses. You have to be this or that. You have to be only rich and privileged to do that. The kids aren't stupid. And they learn it. They learn these lessons deep. So, no, I don't really know what to say if, you've got a child that's already at that point. Other than they need to know that they're valued. They need to know that they have importance in the world. I found that in school, when I was a kid in school, it's a very different environment than, say, college. Because in school it's compulsory education. You've got people there who do not want to be there at all. Those people are the problem because those are the kids who are going to be making fights, who are going to be acting up, who are going to be disrupting the class and just making the whole experience very difficult. I was fortunate enough to only have to endure school till about 6th grade and then go into college. And it was radically different to go to college because in college, you were there because you wanted to be there. You were there because you're paying the fees, you're making the grade, and if you showed that you were dedicated to your work, that you were going to not just do the minimum, but really cared about what you were doing and maybe would go a little bit extra, the amount of respect that you would get from your college professors and the people around you was immense. In school, no matter how much you excelled and you achieved, you're still a kid, so you're still viewed with suspicion. But when you're in college, it's like, hey, it doesn't matter if you're working with the bandsaw after hours. We know you're okay. Or I could go into the biology labs and go and draw the human skeletons and stuff because I'd established a real sense of trust and community in my college, and it just wasn't possible to do that in school. I think that the kids in school, if that's the only community they have access to, they don't really get to learn how to build a good reputation and how to build respect from those around you and what the benefits of doing that could even be. If that is completely alien to you and completely outside of your experience, it's not going to be even on your radar as something you're going to try for. So yeah, that's why we get all that nihilism in our society. It's going to get worse until we start valuing human life more, people more. Thanks for watching.